Good evening, everyone. I'm your storyteller, and tonight I'll take you into online dates that turn into pure horror. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where and when you're watching. Now, prepare yourself for the fear that lies ahead. Episode 1: The Man in the Abandoned House. The Wooden House and the Shadow Through the Window. My name is Jacob Miller, 31 years old, living in the state of Ohio. Early that year, I lost my job after the company carried out a massive layoff. With no other choice, I was forced to temporarily leave my small apartment in the city and move back to my grandparents' old wooden house. The house sat on the edge of a small town, where people recognized each other not only by face, but also by the sound of truck engines every morning. That house had been vacant for many years. My grandparents had passed away when I was in college, and my parents had no intention of living there, so it remained silent, covered in dust and the faint musty smell of dampness. I didn't like the idea of living there alone, but the sense of free shelter while unemployed made me close my eyes and accept it. On the first day I moved in, sunlight slanted through the old trees, shining on the wooden walls already stained by time. The hinges of the front door screeched like the lament of an old man aching in his bones. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of rotting wood, mixed with the pungent stench of a dead mouse somewhere. Each step I took on the floor made the boards creak, as if the house itself was warning me, "You are not welcome here." That day, a neighbor came by. Mrs. Carroll, over 70, thin and frail, her trembling hands clutching a paper bag. She peered at me through her reading glasses, her crooked smile contrasting with her eyes. Doubtful, worried, as if she wanted to say something but held back. Finally, she said, "You must be Jacob, right? I remember now, I used to see you here with your grandparents. Now, are you living alone?" "Yes, just me, only temporarily." I smiled it off. She hesitated, her eyes flashing with unease. Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "The other day, I thought I saw someone walking inside the house, a shadow passing by the upstairs window. At that time, your car wasn't in the driveway. I thought—" She left the sentence hanging. I laughed awkwardly, trying to chase away the chill crawling down my spine. "You must have been mistaken. It's all dusty here, and the way the light casts shadows can easily make people imagine things." She didn't answer, only placed the paper bag in my hands. Inside were some baked pastries. Before turning away, she warned, "Don't be careless, young man. Houses left empty too long sometimes keep things nobody wants." That first night I hardly slept. The wind howled through the cracks in the door, branches scraped against the window, creating sounds like fingernails scratching glass. I pulled the blanket over my head, but the musty air still seeped into every breath, pressing against my chest. Around 3 in the morning, I suddenly heard long creaks coming from the upstairs hallway. One step, then another. I held my breath, listening. The whole house seemed to freeze, only my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I told myself, probably mice, or the wind. But while my reason whispered that, my body trembled, sweat dripping down my back. The next morning, I stepped out onto the porch. Sunlight sparkled, but when I glanced at the second-floor window for a moment, I thought I saw a shadowy figure standing by the curtain. The fabric swayed lightly, as if someone had just released it. My stomach dropped. I rushed inside, tore through the room, opened every closet, checked under the bed. Nothing. Only dust, cobwebs, and the acrid smell of something long decayed. But the sensation of being watched remained, as if a pair of eyes clung to my neck, raising goosebumps even in broad daylight. That was when the strange things began. In the following days, I tried to settle into life in that wooden house. By day, I threw open the windows to let in sunlight and air, driving away some of the damp smell. I rearranged the furniture, cleaned the living room, changed the bed sheets. I told myself I only needed to stay for a few months, just until I found a stable job and could leave. But when night fell, the house became something else. It came alive, sighing cold drafts through the door, cracks, groaning with creaking floorboards, whispering vague sounds from upstairs. I heard them clearly, though I kept repeating to myself, "It's just an old house, Jacob. Just an old house." One Friday evening, while cooking dinner, I heard a faint click above me, like the sound of a switch flipping. I startled, looking up. Through the stairwell gap, a pale, bluish light glowed from upstairs. Step by step, I crept forward, the wooden floor groaning heavily beneath me. My heart pounded. When I reached the landing, I saw the light spilling from the small room at the end of the hallway, the one with the old vanity and a single ceiling bulb. That bulb wasn't wired to a switch. It only had a short pull cord dangling down. I hadn't touched it since moving in. The cord was so stiff it was practically broken. Yet now it was shining, its dim, grayish-blue glow filling the room, illuminating the drifting dust. I inhaled deeply, the acrid scent of the old hot bulb burning my nose. My hand trembled as I reached for the cord. Click. The light went out. The room sank back into suffocating darkness, so heavy I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. I turned to leave, but at that instant, a sound, faint like a breath. Short, fleeting, right at the back of my neck. I spun around, but only blackness stared back. That night, I didn't dare turn off the bedroom lamp. I sat with my back against the wall, the yellow glow from the desk lamp spilling onto the floor, a fragile island of light amid the engulfing dark. I clutched my phone tightly, ready to call the police if anything too strange happened. Around midnight, as I began to nod off, a sudden bang thundered from my grandparents' storage room. The impact was so strong the picture frames rattled on the wall. I rushed out, flinging the storage door open. Inside, stacks of old boxes towered up. A few had toppled over. Dust swirled thick, the smell of damp wood and rotting paper choking me into a cough. But no one was there. Not a soul. I knelt, gathering scattered photo albums. The paper had yellowed, the images blurred. Among the pile of family pictures taken in the backyard, I found a strange one. A shot from outside the window, aimed directly into the living room. In it, my grandparents sat on the sofa, but at the edge of the frame, faintly, loomed the tall, thin silhouette of a man, half hidden behind the curtain. My hand shook, my heart raced wildly. I had never seen this photograph before. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was all hallucination caused by stress and sleeplessness. But day by day, the signs grew clearer. Objects shifted places. The cup I left on the kitchen table at night would be in the living room the next morning. The coat I hung behind the door would be neatly folded on the sofa. Sometimes, while working in my room, I distinctly heard slow, heavy footsteps upstairs, deliberate, as if someone wanted me to notice. And the smell. A rancid, sweaty stench, like clothes left damp for too long, drifting now and then through the dark hallway. I began to panic for real. I locked all the windows, checked every bolt, but when I turned back, the back door stood ajar, cold wind sweeping the curtain aside. I could no longer explain it as just an old house. One sleepless night I turned on the light, sitting in silence as the bulb trembled faintly above. Outside, the wind howled like a moan. In that moment I swear I heard whispering, not from outside, not in my head, but inside the very room. A hoarse voice, wrapped in breath. "You're not alone, Jacob." The shadow on the dust-covered bed. I had lived in that house for over 6 weeks, and by then I no longer tried to console myself with foolish excuses. Someone else was in the house, I was certain. Every night I locked every door, yet by morning curtains were drawn open, chairs shifted, and the foul, sweaty stench clung to the air. I began sleeping with a folding knife beneath my pillow. That night, around 2 in the morning, just as I drifted into sleep, I heard creak in the hallway. Footsteps. I held my breath. They weren't quick nor heavy. They were deliberate, measured, pressing each step so I would know someone was walking out there. Cold sweat poured down my neck. Gripping the knife, I stood, cracked the door open. The hallway was pitch dark, only a dim sliver of yellow spilling from my room. At the far end, the storage room door was ajar. A faint draft slipped through the crack, carrying that acrid stench, the scent of someone who had lived long in darkness. I crept forward, heart pounding like a drum. My trembling hand pushed the doctor inside. Boxes lay silently piled, but a sickening knot twisted in my gut, urging me back. Instinct screamed something hid there, staring at me through the dark. I slammed the door shut, turned to retreat, but in the next heartbeat a sharp click came from another room. My grandparents' spare bedroom. Swallowing hard, knife clenched tight, I dragged myself toward it. The door stood slightly open. I inhaled, pushed it wide, and my heart plummeted. On the dusty old bed, the blanket was pulled up to the chest. Beneath it, the distinct outline of a human body lay still. Dust stirred with each breath it took. Frozen, I stepped back, my foot creaking a floorboard. The figure shot upright instantly. No hesitation, no confusion, as if it had been awake the whole time, listening for me. Dim hallway light fell across its face. A gaunt man, hair matted, eyes wide and gleaming in the dark. His gaze pierced me, freezing my spine. He lunged from the bed. I screamed, slammed the door between us and bolted. His pounding footsteps chased mine, his raspy breath scorching the back of my neck. I tore down the stairs, chest clenching, heart exploding. At the front door, my trembling hands fumbled the lock, just barely yanking it open when a cold brush grazed my back, his hand almost catching my shirt. I burst outside, sprinting across the yard, stumbling along the stone path to Mrs. Carroll's house. I hammered her door until it flung open. She pulled me in, horrified at my pale, sweat-soaked face. The police were called. They scoured the house but found no one, no traces, no pried windows, no stolen belongings. But I knew. I had seen him. Days later, my parents came to help inventory the house. Nothing was missing. Everything intact. They said it must have been some homeless man seeking shelter. But one dreadful thought clung to me. I had lived there for over 2 months. So where had he come from? Had he been there all along, hiding in the dark rooms, creeping through the halls when I was out, listening to my breathing as I slept? That question haunts me to this day, and perhaps I will never return to that house again. Episode 2. Gas Station on the Road of Darkness. The Overnight Drive. My name is Emily Harris, 30 years old, an administrative clerk at a small company in Indiana. Last October, I was driving alone back from visiting my parents in the neighboring state. I should have stayed one more night, but because of urgent work, I stubbornly chose to drive through the night so I could make it to work the next morning. The highway stretched endlessly, flanked only by black forests like towering walls. From time to time, the moonlight pierced through clouds, casting cold silver streaks across the road. The clock hands pointed close to midnight, my eyes growing weary, eyelids heavy. I turned on the music, drank bottled coffee, yet the fatigue clung. The stillness of the night road made every sound feel strange. The tires grinding the asphalt screeched sharp. The wind whistling through the car's seams whispered like someone at my ear. I began to feel as if I were the only living creature moving in a deserted world. Around midnight, the fuel gauge showed less than a quarter tank left. I glanced around, looking for a sign of a rest stop, but for dozens of minutes there was only forest and darkness. Just then, a small turn appeared to the right, with a rusted sign, letters faded, "Gas and food, 1 mile." I turned the wheel, entering the narrow road swallowed between 2 lines of trees. The path was pitch black, no streetlights, uneven asphalt jolting the car. After a few minutes, a faint light appeared ahead. A gas station emerged, shabby as if from the 70s. No modern canopy, just a few rusted steel pumps standing bare. The small building behind was pitch dark, dusty glass doors. For a moment I thought the place was abandoned, but in the lot 3 other cars were parked. The tail lights of one still glowed dim, proof they hadn't been left long. My heart eased a little. I parked and stepped out. Cold wind pierced my thin jacket, making me shiver. The air reeked of gasoline mixed with the damp rot of the night forest. Somewhere far off, an owl hooted lonely. I approached the glass door. My pale reflection shimmered in the moonlight. When I pushed, the wooden door creaked open, revealing the inside. That very instant I froze. In the dim room, only a few weak fluorescent bulbs flickered, and 4 men scattered across the empty store. They weren't doing anything, just standing still. But when I stepped in, all at once they turned their heads toward me. Their eyes were cold, motionless, locking tightly on me. The whole place fell into a dead silence, only the buzzing of the lights overhead. The shelves were bare, no water bottles, no snacks, nothing at all. I swallowed hard, the smell of moldy wood mixed with rusted metal making my stomach churn. It felt as if I had stumbled into a place that wasn't meant for me. 10 seconds, 20 seconds. They still stared, unblinking. I stepped back, hand trembling against the door. Not one spoke, not one moved. Only those eyes following me, as if waiting for a signal I could not understand. I pulled the door open, the hinge screeched long into the void. Then I turned, nearly running back to my car. My heart pounded so loud it filled my ears. When I sat down, engine roaring to life, for a split second in the rearview mirror, I saw those 4 faces pressed against the glass, watching the lot, watching me, the convoy behind. I sped out of the station so fast my tires shrieked against the asphalt. Wind roared past the windows, my palms slick with sweat. The narrow forest road stretched endless, headlights cutting only a thin strip ahead. Rejoining the highway, I exhaled, though my hands still shook. I tried convincing myself. Maybe they were just locals. Maybe I was too tired and imagined it. But inside, a heavy stone pressed on my chest. 10 minutes later, in the rear view, headlights flickered from afar. A car was approaching. I moved to the right lane, letting it pass. A black sedan surged forward, but the moment it overtook me, it swerved ahead, braking suddenly. I slammed my brakes, heart leaping. In the mirror, 2 more pairs of headlights closed in. The glinting silhouettes formed a wall behind me. I suddenly realized they were the cars from the gas station. Ice stabbed down my spine. I accelerated, but the sedan ahead slammed brakes again, nearly making me crash into its bumper. I swerved, seeking a gap, but a pickup truck boxed me in at the side. Its high beams flared white, blinding me, trapping me in their ring. For an instant, I glanced sideways. The pickup driver turned his head toward me. His sun-darkened face, scruffy beard, eyes wide and unblinking, as if measuring the fear etched on my face. I couldn't breathe. The hot plastic smell of the car mixed with the chill of my own sweat. My hands shook so badly the wheel rattled. Then the sedan in front braked hard again. My tires screeched, the car sliding sideways, stopping just inches from its rear. At that exact moment, the two behind cut in, one blocking my back, the other swerving diagonally to trap my side. I was pinned. No way out. Car doors slammed in unison, echoing in the night. I saw 4, maybe 5 figures step out. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving steadily toward me. The headlights cast their shadows long on the pavement, monstrous shapes stretching claw-like toward prey. Panic seized me. My mind screamed, "If you hesitate, you'll vanish here. No one will ever find you." Without thinking, I jerked the wheel right, floored the gas, crashing off the road into the pitch-black forest. My car jolted violently, branches whipping the windshield with sharp cracks. At last, a heavy crash, my car wedged between 2 trunks. I tried restarting, but the engine sputtered dead. The headlights spilled over pale tree trunks like gravestones. Outside, I heard their engines, then heavy footsteps crunching leaves, closer, closer. I held my breath. The damp smell of soil mixed with the acrid tang of overheated plastic. Survival instinct exploded. I flung the door open, bolted, running deeper into the woods. Leaves rustled under my feet, blending with the pursuit behind, branches snapping. My breath tore ragged, chest stabbing with pain. Each glance back, flashlights swept wildly. Men's hoarse voices rang out, "Don't let her get away." I ran endlessly, shoes sinking in mud, lungs burning to burst. The suffocating darkness swallowed all direction, leaving only the hammer of my heart in my ears. The darkness in the woods. I ran like the deranged, not knowing where, only away from the flashlight slicing behind. Branches scratched bloody streaks on my arms. Leaves clung wet to my shoes. My steps merged with theirs, my heart ready to explode. I dared not turn on my phone for light, only plunged deeper in dark. After a while, my lungs seared, breath tearing, I collapsed onto a mound of leaves. The damp earth smell suffocated, mixed with musty moss. I pressed myself flat, forcing silence. Footsteps drew near, clear, slow. Someone was right beyond the bush. Only a few yards away, I froze, cold sweat dripping down my temples into the soil. A beam of light swept across, catching pale trunks. I swore it would land on my face, but then it drifted past, fading. The steps receded into emptiness. I lay still, counting heartbeats. 1 minute, 5, 10. Darkness so thick, time dissolved. Only the hiss of wind, the drone of insects, the coppery blood from my scratches mingled with Earth's chill. Finally, when I believed they had gone, I rose slowly, turning my phone on low. The glow stabbed my eyes. I opened the map. The highway was less than a mile away. I crept through the forest, every branch crack underfoot jolting me. Reaching the roadside, the dark highway spread ahead. No cars passed. The car I'd abandoned was silent now. As I neared, I saw the other cars, the men, they had vanished. Only my car remained, jammed askew between trunks. The headlights still glared, casting a sickly yellow glow, like eyes waiting. I didn't go back. I stood on the roadside, trembling, texting 911. My fingers cramped in the cold, the rusty smell of blood making me gag. An hour later, police and a tow truck arrived. They searched with flashlights, combed the area, but no trace of any other cars, no tire marks, no oil, nothing. When they asked, I told everything. They exchanged doubtful looks. One officer muttered, "Maybe you were just too tired imagining things." I gave a dry laugh. Deep inside, I knew the stares of those men at the station were no hallucination. The way they looked at me, cold, in unison, void of feeling, was carved into my memory. That night, they took me to a nearby motel. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw 4 faces pressed against the glass, headlights blazing behind as they circled my car. Even now, when I drive lonely roads, the moment headlights appear behind me, my heart clenches, my palms sweat cold. I never again dare drive overnight. Because I know, out there somewhere, men like them still exist, silent, cold, always waiting for a chance to make someone alone, like me, disappear. Episode 3. The One Who Knows My Name. The Strange Car in the Yard. My name is Nathan Clark, 32 years old, living alone on the outskirts of a small town in Pennsylvania. My house sits at the end of a quiet road, flanked by wide lawns and old white fences. I like that silence, or rather, I used to. It was a midweek evening, winter setting in, the wind cutting cold. I had just come home from work, tired, with no desire to cook. So I opened a food delivery app. It only took a few minutes to pick a meal, and the screen said delivery would take about 40 minutes. I turned on the TV, sank into the sofa, and enjoyed a bit of quiet. Around 9 o'clock, I stood up and passed by the living room window. I don't know why, but something urged me to pull the curtain slightly aside and look outside. My heart froze. In the yard, right in the driveway, sat a gray sedan, unmoving. Its lights were off, windows dark, and no one stepped out. The car was completely unfamiliar. I was certain I had never seen it in this neighborhood. My breathing quickened. I immediately checked my phone, the delivery map still tracking. The driver was still about 10 minutes away. So who was sitting in that car? I closed the curtain, trying to convince myself maybe someone had the wrong address. But inside, unease crept in. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, the delivery guy. I glanced quickly back toward the street. The sedan was still there, silent as the night. I asked him, "Did you see anyone in that car?" He shrugged. "Some guy in the driver's seat, but I didn't really notice. Probably just your neighbor." Then he left. I stood on the porch, icy wind seeping through my collar. The street was deserted, only the dry leaves rolling with a scratchy sound. The car remained still, as though it was waiting for me. I tried to ignore it, went back inside, put the food bag on the table. But after just a few bites, my chest felt tight. I walked to the window again, pulled the curtain slightly open. The sedan was still there, but this time the driver's seat was empty. I saw it clearly, no one inside. A chill ran down my spine. If the person had left the car, then where was he now? Right at that moment, knocks echoed on the door. Knock, knock, knock. I jolted, my hand trembling, dropping the plastic spoon. Quietly, I crept toward the door and peered through the peephole. No one, only the dark yard, the wind whistling under the porch roof. But I knew I had heard it. Clear, distinct, not my imagination. I gathered all my courage, cracked open the door, stepped onto the porch. The cold night air enveloped me, carrying the musty scent of dry grass and wood smoke from some neighbor's chimney. I looked around. No one. My heartbeat thundered as I walked toward the car. Through the tinted glass, both the driver's and passenger seats were empty. I circled around to check the license plate. But there was none. The car was completely smooth, as though it didn't belong to any system at all. A cold breath brushed the back of my neck. I spun around, nothing. Just darkness and wind. Panic surged. I dashed back inside, slammed the door shut, and locked it tight. My back pressed against the wooden door, chest heaving, cold sweat drenching my body. In the silence, I suddenly realized something even more terrifying. The phone I had left on the table earlier was gone. Footsteps in the hallway. I tore apart the dining table, the sofa, even the kitchen floor. The phone was nowhere. I remembered clearly putting it down right next to the food container. So where had it gone? A dense fear clogged my throat, forcing me to swallow hard. I tried to breathe deeply, to calm myself, but the shaky breaths only amplified the pounding in my ears. Then, in the quiet house, I heard it. A faint sound. Very slight, but unmistakable. The squeak of a door hinge. From the end of the hallway, darkness spread like a black stain, and then, slowly, footsteps echoed. One step, then another. Whoever it was, he wasn't rushing. He walked just slow enough to make sure I knew he was there. A strange odor crept into the air, the stale stench of old cigarettes mixed with damp leather. I knew with certainty someone was in my house. I froze in the living room, gripping the edge of the table. My body locked, sweat streaming down my back. I wanted to scream, but my throat constricted as if strangled. Then the footsteps stopped. Silence flooded in, thick enough I could hear the blood surging in my temples. He was standing right at the corner of the hallway, only a few meters from me. The air felt suffocating. And then a man's voice broke out, raspy, low, rough. "Nathan Clark." I reeled. He spoke my full name, not "hey" or "you." He knew exactly who I was. "Nathan, I know you hear me." The voice seeped from the darkness, each word tearing at my ears. I staggered back, my heart thrashing. My foot knocked over the food container, plastic clattering loudly in the silence. Instantly, footsteps thundered again, faster now, heavier, charging straight toward me. I screamed and bolted toward the back of the house. His steps pounded right behind me, relentless. I felt his breath on my neck, hot, carrying that reek of cigarettes and sweat. I flung open the back door, the hinges screeching. Cold wind slashed my face as I burst into the backyard. From the darkness of the hall, his voice bellowed, "Don't run, Nathan. I've waited for you a long time." I sprinted across the backyard, feet slipping on the damp frost. The distant streetlight flickered like a salvation beacon. I didn't dare look back, but still I heard him close behind, his shoes hammering the ground, breath raspy and harsh. Just before I could escape the yard, a deadly curiosity made me glance back. Under the porch's yellow light, I saw his face, tall, gaunt, hair falling into his eyes, which were wide, wild. He was a total stranger, someone I had never seen in my life. Yet the way he screamed my full name, echoing through the night, froze my blood solid. I snapped forward again, running faster. The man who left no trace. I tore out of the backyard, across the lawn toward the row of houses out front. My chest felt like it would burst. The cold wind roared in my ears, mixing with my ragged breaths, dizzying me. Behind me, his sound still chased, pounding footsteps, ragged breath. Not far at all. I tried to scream for help, but the night wind devoured my voice. At the corner of the street, headlights of a car appeared. I waved frantically, nearly sobbing. The car screeched to a stop. A middle-aged man rolled down his window, face stricken. "What's going on?" I rushed over, voice cracked. "Call the police. Someone's in my house. He's chasing me." The man instantly dialed. I turned back, but strangely, the backyard was empty. No footsteps, no shadow. Only the rustle of wind in the trees. silence so heavy it made me doubt if I had dreamed it all. 10 minutes later, the police arrived. They searched the entire house. I followed, trembling, their flashlights sweeping the hall, the living room, upstairs. Everything normal, no footprints, no broken windows, no disturbed furniture. Even the gray sedan I had seen earlier, gone. Not a trace. One officer looked at me, half sympathetic, half skeptical. Maybe you were stressed, just imagining things. I gave a hollow laugh, but inside was turmoil. How could I have imagined the way he called my full name so clearly? The next day, I found my phone, lying on the carpet in the living room. But when I picked it up, I froze. The screen showed recording in progress. I opened the file. My voice came through when I'd spoken to the delivery guy, when I screamed my own name in panic. And mixed within it, faint but distinct, was his, Nathan Clark. His voice was cold, clear, undeniable. From that day on, I never dared stay in that house. I moved out within the week, but every night when I close my eyes, I still hear his voice in my head, dragging on, hoarse. I know who you are, Nathan. And what terrifies me most is the question left unanswered. How long has he been watching me?